Hey, did you know that if you're too close to the wall, the enemy sees you before you can see them? There is no specific term for this, but I call this angle advantage or perspective advantage. In this video, I'll discuss why this happens and how you can use it to your advantage. In Valorant, the player camera is at the center of the body, just like in real life, but the camera doesn't cover the full body. You cannot see your arms and legs, and the rest of your body is a lot bigger than you think. Because of this, we encounter a problem of angle advantage. In summary, peeking from far distance will always give you the advantage and you'll see the enemy first, and when corners are involved, it does become very complex. Okay, so I have three situations that I wanted to show you, which is very important, and I will also give you a secret trick that you can use to determine if a person will have an advantage or not. So let's just take the first case, which is the normal corner clearing case, where blue, which is the peeker, is trying to clear this corner. So the trick here is that first you have to draw the closest line of sight of a person to the enemy. So the closest thing red can see of blue would be this part, and the closest thing blue can see of red would be this part drawn from the center. Now there is a point of intersection, which is this point. This point will determine if someone has an advantage or not. If this point is closer to this player will have the advantage. If this point is closer to blue will have an advantage. If this point is right on the corner, then nobody has an advantage. Both have equal advantage. So right now the point is towards the red, right? You can see that this line of sight is just crossing the wall and hitting blue, which means red can see blue. But blue is unable to see red because it is obstructed by this wall, giving red a huge advantage here because red can see blue before blue can see red. But if I shift this point this way by pulling blue, you can see now that blue is able to see red first, while red can no longer see blue because of this wall blocking the line of sight. Because of this point is determining an angle advantage. So you can see here blue has an advantage because blue is peeking from far away, and right now if blue peeks from too close, you can see that red has an advantage while blue cannot see red anymore. So that's why angle advantage exists. You have to stay as far away from the wall if you want to get an advantage or not. Another thing to note, that if you want to reduce the angle advantage slightly, which isn't much but it is still counted, is if you are able to move your body a bit towards the corner, like facing the corner. Like right now it's facing like vertical, but if you're able to shift it such that it points towards the wall, you can see that this point of incident is moving towards you. So that will also give you a small advantage bonus here. Second case, which is the open wall case, where two enemies are trying to fight or just holding positions, and there is only one corner which is stopping them from doing anything. So here the lines of sights are a bit different. The closest thing blue can see to red is this part. The closest thing red can see to blue is this part. And you can see that the point of intersection is towards blue's side, which is why blue is able to see red first, while red is no longer able to see blue. But if I pull blue, you can see this point coming closer and closer to the wall, and the second it crosses the wall, now red has an advantage while blue cannot see red. You can see that blue's line of sight is blocked by the wall, while red's line of sight is able to reach blue, which means red is able to see blue while blue cannot see red. If I bring blue closer to the corner, you can see the advantage amplifies. Red is now able to see blue while blue cannot see red. So that's how angle advantage works. The person who is farther from the wall will always have the advantage, and if you want a more clear reference, you just need to make sure that the intersections of lines of sights is towards you and not towards the enemy. Lastly, which is the case when lots of cover is involved, and this case is a very complicated case. Basically here the situation changes because of how line of sight works. So right now blue is in this corner, and the line of sight is a bit different in this case. In this case, the closest thing that blue can see of red would be the head while peeking this way. So that's a big change here, because usually you are able to see one of the shoulder points, but now what blue can see is only red's face while peeking first, while red is able to see blue's left shoulder first when blue is peeking. The reason this is huge is because you can see that the intersections of lines of sight is now at red's face, which means red always has an advantage here, irrelevant of distance. Even if blue goes farther away, you can see that the points of intersection is still towards red's face, which means red will always have the advantage no matter what. no matter what. You can see that. Why this is happening? Because red is able to block his left shoulder line of sight with the help of this wall. So whenever a defender is holding close to the wall, defender will always have an advantage if an enemy is peeking like this. So how do I counter this? Well, if you can make the closest line of sight of blue towards this shoulder instead of this face, any point, any shoulders, and the closest shoulder that you can see of red would be this one. If you are able to change the line of sights, then you can bring the advantage. Well, how do we do that? So here, if blue peeks in the open, if blue jiggle peeks and baits red's shot, if blue is able to cross over, now the line of sights change. The closest thing that blue can see would be red's right shoulder, while the closest thing that red can see would be blue's left shoulder, and voila, we got a point of intersection now. And because the point of intersection is closer towards blue's side, blue will be able to see red first if positioned correctly. You can see that. That's how the roles of angle advantage can be shifted. But this is very complicated when you play in the game, right? Like you cannot determine in your mind that, I should cross here and then peek. It's going to be difficult like that. Well, first rule, number one rule, stay as far away as you can from a corner. Rule number two, if an enemy is peeking a particular wall and you're trying to peek from another wall, in order to get an advantage, you will have to peek from that side which is blocking the enemy's shoulder. Only then you will get the advantage, which in this case would be the left side, not the right side. So if there is an opper, right, the opper is holding over here, you bait the shot by jiggle peeking, the opper will go back and come back in. By that time, if you shift your angle, you will now have an advantage. So if the opper slowly peeks and is trying to clear you, since you will have the advantage first, you will be able to kill them first, which is a really huge deal. So that's the second rule. Rule number two is you will have to peek from that angle which is covering enemy's body part, which only then you will get the advantage. That's the rule number two. Yes, make sure to hit the subscribe button because my subscription percentage is ridiculous. And yes, it helps me a lot. It helps me a ton. And I'll catch you all in the next one.